All right, so something a little short and sweet. A change, we don't know if it's a bug or if it's intended behavior. We'll have to wait and see what Blizzard, if even Blizzard says anything. They have changed things like this before, where they've made it a change for the positive or a change for the negative. One reason why I think it might be a change for the positive for Slayer Fury is probably not too great in keys at the moment. The other issue being that Slayer Fury, if you play it in keys, prioritizes Bloodthirst to get Reap the Storm procs over everything else. However, with the recent change, our 4-piece is Raging Blow damage is increased by 10% and has a 2% chance per target hit by Overwhelmed, or per stack of Overwhelmed on the target to trigger Reap the Storm at 150%. Previously, this effect... Excuse me. Previously, this effect only actually worked on the primary target you were hitting. However, with this change, intended or not, if it's unintended, I'll make an updated version of this. It means that every target you hit with Raging Blow, if you have 10 stacks of Overwhelmed, will have a 20% chance per target. Currently, that's actually equivalent to the same chance Reap the Storm has to proc with Bloodthirst. So, what it means is that in AOE, Slayer Fury will be pressing Bloodthirst still, or Raging Blow, and then Thane will press Bloodthirst, and it kind of plays into those archetypes and playstyles, and the differences between Slayer and Thane, where Thane wants Bloodthirst for TB procs, and Slayer just wants Raging Blow all the time for Slaughtering Strikes, and then now Reap the Storm. So if you haven't played with it yet or haven't tested yet, it starts to look kind of like this. Here, let me turn my volume down on my speakers so you don't get, like, backlash. So Blade Storm is even more important now because it adds 6 stacks. But you can see that it is proccing a lot. And every time it procs, it also adds a stack. It's proccing like a litter. So literally, it is quite literally proccing almost every hit. Which it won't actually proc every hit. The chance isn't that high. But the fact that our primary button, the button we want to press anyway, is now also triggering Reap the Storm on multiple targets, because every single target with this Overwhelm debuff is calculating that 20% chance. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It is a lot of damage. You all see a noticeable difference in keys. To note, however, positioning will still be more important than ever. If for some reason only some of the pack where you're chain pulling, if only some of the pack has this Overwhelm debuff on the target, then if you are trying to Raging Blow and hitting the new mobs won't have Overwhelmed on them to trigger the 4-piece Reap the Storm proc. So, basically, you'll need to think a little more if you're, like, chain pulling a lot to make sure you're still actually, like, have a chance to get, those Reap the Storm procs. If you don't have Blade Storm going into a pack, you might still want a Bloodthirst every now and then until you Blade Storm, just because of the Reap the Storm chance is just non-existent without. Let me see. If you just go into a pack like normally, the Reap the Storm chance is still very, very low. Where I was getting it every time, but now because not everything in the pack has this chance to proc, it is still very, very low. But if you get everything if everything in the stack has this Overwhelm debuff stacked up, then you're going to be proccing a lot. And once you get it rolling, that's the important part, because every single time you Reap the Storm, it applies the Overwhelm buff. So once you actually get Reap the Storm rolling in a pack of mobs, even if you're chaining, if you stay near the mobs that you have the debuff on already, you'll be able to roll Reap the Storm procs off of them and stack up Overwhelmed on the new mobs without having to make sure you're Blade Storming them. So, interesting change, new change. It's pretty sick. It's very, very good. It's going to make, on some of the lower target count dungeons, it's going to make Slayer Fury even better than it already was. I think some keys like Dawnbreaker or even Gambit. Gambit's like early pulls are definitely larger, but as you go through the dungeon, having big single target and even like 5 to 6 target AOE I think will go very, very well. And, I mean, going into these packs of Murlocs as well, with everything being Blade Stormed off the rip, and you're just spamming Reap the Storm over and over again, because Reap the Storm, give it a little look-see, it does damage beyond 8, so it still does damage to everything. Pretty good. It's pretty good. This change is honestly great. I hope they keep it. I hope it's not just a bug. But yeah, good stuff. Bye-bye.